Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to my podcast, Fast Forward Mindset Motivational Podcast. And just in case you didn't know, I'm your host, Coach James. On my podcast, I will get a recipe to a brand new life by intentionally rewiring the way you think. And the way you think is everything. What's going on, everybody? Hope all is well. So yeah, as y'all see, my setup's a little different now. I decided to start recording podcasts in my little man-made studio that I call Bobby Black Studio. There's a long story behind the name Bobby Black. If you don't know the story, you will soon know the story. It's just not suitable for this episode today. So y'all, anyways, it's starting to get crazy hot here in Arizona, like triple digit hot. At least it feels like it anyways. I mean, I don't know where you are in the world, but to here in Arizona, it's getting hot. So if it's still cool where you are, enjoy that, please. But anyways, so y'all, I want to talk about a real scenario about myself and my family. And when I say real scenario, I don't want you to think my scenarios are not real, because they are, but this is a real scenario that I'm dealing with right now. Because I feel like that people think that when you are a motivational speaker, you're a podcaster, that nothing in your life happens. So for you to stay positive and be positive, it's easy, right? Like you live positive because your life isn't like mine. You live positive because you don't deal with what I deal with, right? And I want to share a story so everyone knows that, hey, I'm just like you. I've just learned how to practice better habits and continuing to stay positive. Okay. So story goes like this. Me and my wife's daughter had got in trouble with the law, and she had to go incognito for a while. And when I say incognito, right? But during the time of her being there, we had set these boundaries, like we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that, we're doing this, we're doing that only. There's no negotiating. This is the way it's going to be because this is how it is, and this is the boundaries that we're setting. And so in the process of dealing with that, we had these boundaries set as to what we're going to do. And we did a good job of sticking with our boundaries. And the good thing about these boundaries is that me and my wife talked about these boundaries before we set them. We said what they're going to be, and we said what we're going to be consistent about. Now, we talked about maybe some we can bend a little bit. Maybe we won't bend this one, right? But long story short, my daughter got in trouble, and we set these boundaries saying we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And she just recently came home, and we thought about, like, if she's coming home, our first thought was like, no, she can't come back home, right? But then as we thought about it, we're like, wait a minute, if we say she can't come back home, then she's going to go back to where she got in trouble at. And so we really start thinking on that, like, wait a minute, if that doesn't equate mathematically, it doesn't make sense, right? You saying, hey, I want to change, I want to be different, and me saying, no, I know you want to change, you want to be different, figure it out on your own, right? Now, parents, I know some of us are super lenient with our kids. Some of us may be too far lenient. And I'm not going to judge someone's parenthood. That's not how I operate. What I do on my podcast is I give suggestions and ideas. If you want to take them, voila, have them. If you don't, and you think your way is better than mine, by all means, your way is better than mine. I'm just sharing ideas and suggestions. But anyways, once we thought about that, we're like, well, she's got to be able to go somewhere to where it's safe, somewhere to where she's not going to end up back in those streets. Because we all know, y'all, that when you live the street life, you end up on avenues, boulevards, sunsets, everywhere, right? You're just out there, just hanging out, living life the way you think you should be living life. But once we thought about it, we're like, no, she can come back home, and, we can wait on her to see if she can get her stuff together and give her another chance. And in the process of that, we had to really, really ruminate on that and figure out something that we really wanted to do. And we decided that, yeah, it's something that we really want to do with boundaries, right? We've got to stick to boundaries that we have set. But today's episode is called Being a Devoted Parent. And let me say this about the title. Just because you don't accept your kids to come back home after they've gotten in trouble numerous of times or one time doesn't mean you're not a devoted parent. You could have been that parent that did all you could to make sure that your kid had a great education, put them in a great neighborhood, provided for them as such, and been there like you're supposed to be. And your kid just made a mistake. They made a decision to do what they thought was better for them at the time. So by all means, if you decided not to allow your kids come back home, I'm not calling you an undevoted parent. I'm just using that as a title today, being a devoted parent. So as a parent, it's, we always say what we won't do and what we will do, right? Being a parent is really weird because when you caught off in the moment, you've got to make quick decisions. And sometimes the things you said you wouldn't do, you end up doing. And it was on your list to say, I'm not doing that. But welcome to parenthood. That's how it happens, right? Funny story. The other day, this is a little bit off topic. I'm gonna digress a little bit, but I saw this meme, and this meme said that I've been in all kind of types of hood, but adulthood is the most ghettoest hood I ever been to. So I thought that was fitting for this episode, y'all. So I want to share that. But anyway, back to the topic at hand, right? How you decide to parent is your decision. No one should be able to come in and say, hey, you're being a bad parent. Hey, I wouldn't have done this. No, people can give you ideas and suggestions, and it don't make them a bad person for telling you that, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean you have to parent how everybody else think you should parent or how they want you to parent. And let me say this, you don't have to parent the way your kids want you to parent them. You're the parent at the end of the day. But my point is that how you decide to parent is your decision. No one should be able to tell you that. Now, for a husband and wife, it's a little bit different because it's two minds versus just one. Y'all got to come together and talk about this ish together as one, right? As a parent, what would you think? What do you think about the scenario? Well, this is what I would do. Well, this is what I wouldn't do. This is what I would do. Parents that are married, you've got to talk about the decisions and the boundaries you want to set for your children. In order for you both to be a devoted parent, it's got to be an agreement. And I know that when you have kids in different households, because I had kids in different households, it's hard to get everybody on the same page because at your household, they do this. At my household, they do that. But it can happen. Y'all just got to have an open line of communication. And I will tell you now, I would encourage those who have kids to live in separate homes. Parents, come together and find a relationship to be able to at least talk and discuss your kids and talk about things you guys want to set together with the boundaries. That is the only way parenthood is going to work for y'all. But if one is pulling and the other one is tugging, it's going to be difficult. But back to what I was saying, how you decide to parent is how you decide to parent, right? Our job as a parent is to set our kids up for success, right? To make sure that they can be well off, to make sure they can fend for themselves, take care of themselves, to make sure that they know 2 + 2 is 4, right? That's what a parent's job is. We have to set our kids up for failure. For success. Ooh, I said it all bad. But we got to set our kids up for success, right? And when you set your kids up for success, that means you set boundaries, right? You've got to be a parent that says, yes, you can do this, and no, you can't do that. Get home by 9:30 before the street lights come home. You can't be on your cell phone after 10:30. You got to stick to those. Those are boundaries, and you got to stick to those boundaries. And if you don't stick to those boundaries, you being a devoted parent is going to be difficult because your kid is going to make it difficult, and you're going to make it difficult because one, they're not listening to what you're asking them to do, and two, they're going to think you're trying to ruin their life. That's what kids think. I don't know what it is. My mom wants to just ruin my life. My dad wants me to just sit in the room and stare at the wall all day. I get it. That ain't what it is, but to them it feels that way. Let me just be honest. They feel like that, right? But we got to set boundaries and stick to our boundaries. And not only set these boundaries and stick to them, but parents, you got to lead by example. If you tell your kids a particular thing, you got to stick to it. Big thing that I'm really big on now is that if you tell your kids not to be a drinker, don't drink in front of your kids. I'm not saying you got to hide it, but don't drink every day in front of your kids. Don't smoke blunts all day in front of your kids. Don't hit the bong in front of your kids all day. You want to set boundaries and you don't want them to live the way you live? Don't do stuff in front of them. That you've been a devoted parent saying, you know what? I love and respect my kids enough not to give them the habits that I have to make their own habits, or however you want to see it in life, right? So it's set boundaries and stick to them, and lead by example, right? When you are a devoted parent, you will, I don't want to say it, because when you are a devoted parent, you'll set the standard for your kids to be devoted kids, right? And a devoted kid grows up to be a devoted parent, just like you are. So my point I want to make, like I said earlier, is lead by example. If you want your kid to grow up to be a great parent and be a devoted parent, you have to do the same thing. You have to show them what a devoted parent is like. You have to teach them what being devoted looks like, right? But being a devoted parent doesn't mean let your kids run you over. It doesn't mean you give them money every time they ask for it. You being a devoted parent doesn't mean you just buy your kids all the material things in this world that they want. I think we've all seen through social media, through the world, how people buy their kids everything that they want, and the kids end up growing up to be spoiled rotten, and they end up not becoming anything because we spoiled them. And yeah, I said we've done that before. We're, as parents, we've done that. Not only one parent has made that mistake, millions of parents have made that mistake. And don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying it's okay, not okay to not to buy your kids anything. But what I'm saying is don't shower them with materialistic things in return of you not being an available parent. See how I said that, right? It's okay for you to buy your kids things. It's okay to shower them with stuff, but don't do it in return of you not being an available parent. Because if you're doing it because you're not available, you're teaching your kids the wrong thing. So in order for you to be a devoted parent, in order for your kid to be a devoted parent, they got to see you being a devoted parent. That's really what it comes down to. When you are a devoted parent, you will build a strong relationship with your children, no matter what. Now, let me just say this. Parents and kids have problems all the time. Get into disagreements. That's what happens. You're a parent. It's your kid. When they become an adult, when they become a teenager, you're going to get in arguments. That's going to happen. But parents, you being a devoted parent will help build a strong relationship and bond between you and your kids. And so the reason why me and my wife agreed to allow our daughter to come back after living in the streets, we figured that the best case scenario would be for her was to come back home to help her get back on her feet for us to set her back up for success. We didn't say yeah for any other reason, but the fact that if we say no, you can't come back home, she's going to run right back to the avenues. She's going to go run right back to the boulevards. She's going to go right back to Sunset Street, right? And I'm just using examples, but y'all get the point, right? That's really what would happen. So parents, you got to really think deep when you make decisions about your kids and different scenarios they get themselves caught up in. Like I said, I know all the times we say we not doing this, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. But as a parent to set your kids up for success, you got to do things that you don't want to do, but with boundaries. With boundaries. Hey, y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode today because it was weighing on my heart to do this episode. Like I said earlier, sometimes I feel like people get the notion that when you get on the mic in social media, you talk about positivity, you talk about happy life, happy and healthy and all that good stuff, that you don't deal with things. I deal with things just like everybody else do. Like I said earlier, how I practice positivity is a little bit different from the way some other people practice positivity. And that's the only difference, right? And so in order for you to practice positivity, you got to have a daily ritual. And you have a daily ritual will keep your mind positive. And when you deal with tough scenarios like this to come up with your children, you'll know how to stay a devoted parent. Hey, y'all. Thank y'all for listening. Like I said, I really appreciate it. If you have not followed the podcast, do so. If you hit the follow button on whatever platform you're on, when a brand new one drops, you get an alert on your phone to tell you there's a brand new one. And that'll give you the mind to go listen to the brand new episode. Hey, y'all, still got my $50 coaching going on, $50 for 30 minutes. My email address is always in the body of the podcast description. If you want to reach out to me, go and email me and I'll email you back in my time allowed. I'm not hard to find, y'all. I'm on IG all day, every day. It's James Watkins at 40 and Fit Life Coach. If you're struggling today with thoughts of suicide, thoughts of hurting yourself or someone else, please don't hesitate to call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 988 And as I always say, practice daily mindset rehabilitation. And that's my 2 cents in there, y'all. Peace.